getting rid of that shame that we can feel when our houses aren't perfect or we feel like we're struggling when we shouldn't be. And I lean a lot on habits and then systems that reinforce those habits and make those habits easier to keep. Febreze at the end and use it more as like a tool that it became habitual because they recognized the smell of Febreze with their clean home, and it was like this dopamine thing at the end of cleaning. I read that and I was struggling to help my daughter figure out a way that like worked for her brain to clean her room. She was pretty little still, and we just were trying to work on that. And I was like, maybe I should do something like that for her. And she, at that age, we had this like wooded part in the back part of our property, and she would write to fairies, and the fairies would write her back. And so I decided that one day the fairies would leave a bottle of enchanted fairy realm mist, which was water and essential oils. And I like decorated it all cute and got my Cricut out and put stickers on it. And I left her a note that said she could only use it when her room was clean. And she could spray it and it would be magical in her room. We set a visual timer for 15 minutes. So I don't know if you've seen, there's like little clocks that are timers that you twist it and it has a color and you can tell how much time is left on the timer based on how much color is left.
Okay.
I saw a mom use it on TikTok and was like, that is so genius. So it's really great for little kids. And then the big kids can obviously read how many minutes are left on the timer. But we set a 15-minute timer and we switch who gets to pick the music for that night. And that's a big deal, is someone gets to pick the playlist, and we blast music and everybody kind of splits up the main living area, like kitchen, dining room, living room, and just cleans like crazy for 15 minutes. And a lot of times it goes to 20 or 25 minutes, but we have found that we are going to bed with like a completely clean space.
Welcome to your journey to find true tranquility with the Tranquility Magazine podcast with your host, Jasmine Maya Royce. Today's episode featuring, you can find more information about tranquility on our website, tranquilitymagazine.com.
Today we have Karissa Barker. She is a content curator who is passionate about making homemaking accessible and achievable for everyone. She started creating a blog to share real practical tips for organizational designing and maintaining a home without the overwhelm. She features DIY projects and home decor to cleaning routines and parental hacks. Her goal is to simplify the process and inspire you to create a space you love without the pressure of perfection. And with her new book, The Home Reset, she is findable on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. And I am so excited to have you today, Karissa. And my first question is always, what is your current mantra or state of mind?
I love that you start with this, and thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here. I thought a lot about this question actually beforehand, and I really think in this season of life, it's just have grace. Have grace for others and have grace for myself. I have a newborn and a toddler, and I'm homeschooling our big kid, and then just launched the book, and everybody's life, everything happens all at the same time. It seems like it's not new to me or just my issue that everything happens all at once. So I'm just reminding myself that I need to have grace with myself, especially in homemaking, and have grace with others because who knows what other people are going through as well.
Yeah, I mean, understanding the perspective of self in your home and also the external environment, having grace for people and you specifically. We have a lot of expectations of being a lady and a mom and all those things and running your own company. It can be overwhelming.
It can be overwhelming, yes, to say the least. Yeah.
So how old are your kids now? You have a newborn, how many months?
She's 3 months, and then I have a almost 3-year-old son and then an almost 11-year-old daughter.
Wow, a cornucopia of all kinds of ages to deal with.
Yes, we are in all stages except for, I guess, teen and adult. But yeah, we are in the thick of it. So we're loving it, but it's kind of controlled chaos at all times at our house.
That makes it understandable why you have your book and your experience about Achievable and the difference about overwhelm. Because as a mom in the thick of it, as you say, it is kind of a different cleaning method. Have you discovered ways of kind of that's what your book is about? But now you have a newborn. It's on top of the book, keeping those routines that you speak about. How have you been like navigating that right now?
Yeah, I I really keep having to remind myself to heed my own advice. Because my book, like you said, it does mention so much of the theme revolves around, I guess, grace and just getting rid of that shame that we can feel when our houses aren't perfect or we feel like we're struggling when we shouldn't be. And I lean a lot on habits and then systems that reinforce those habits and make those habits easier to keep. And so right now, I'm really just trying to fall back on the very, very basic, simple things like making my bed in the morning or going to bed with sink that doesn't have any dishes in it. I call it the clean sink club in the book.
Yes.
But it's just kind of goes back to basics when I need to, when I'm struggling postpartum or with my health or life's crazy, whatever. I just go back to those very, very basic things because those snowball into a calmer environment just in general. If you make the bed, you're like, oh, well, I already made the bed, so I might as well clear the bathroom counter or whatever. So it just kind of,
Get you
it
started.
all builds on each other.
Yeah. You mentioned in your book that you've been struggling with an ongoing health issue. What has happened in a way that you have worked on it, so to speak, which is part of this?
Yeah, I have struggled with kind of chronic health issues since being a preteen. Actually, I had like 7 or 8 really massive surgeries and involving like a muscle flap transplant onto my foot, and they almost amputated just this whole big thing. And kind of that whole ordeal sparked some chronic health issues ongoing. As a young mom with my first, I really started to struggle neurologically.
Mm.
Things had seizures, and just to simplify the story, I just really struggle neurologically, and a lot of my symptoms are dizziness, or like half of my face and my arm goes numb, and inability to speak clearly and walk and that type of thing. So I am managing fairly well right now, thank goodness. But early on in my parenthood journey, I struggled very, very severely, and I really was just stuck at home all the time. And I
Yeah.
needed our home to be a sanctuary and to figure out how to make our home serve us in that time. And that's kind of where this journey, I guess, with the home reset really began, was years and years ago as I was trying to figure out how to manage in those difficult health times.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing that you were starting this, time with me saying that you have to give yourself grace and understanding that be thankful for health. And most people miss it until they realize that it is a deep concern, that it happens to all of us. And I can be similar in ways that I've had experiences like that, speech and trauma and neurological, I can't always say it. Imperfections and understandings that, it kind of is the great wake up in a way that it kind of reflects that you're now home more and you're working on you, and you feel that being a mom, probably it was more about like my job and my purpose to have these things in place, that the functional element of the home is in flow. Bless your health, and I hope it goes well, and I hope you continue the journey, and then every time it gets a little bit better and you solve some problems, and when you have down days and up days, which is hard for a lot of especially moms to understand, that you can't be a superhero every day. Which is unachievable, but we have expectations, especially from people outside of ourselves. It makes it very hard not to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what is your favorite place in your house?
Oh gosh. Well, we just remodeled our house completely from top to bottom. So we're still finishing it, but I feel like each room that I finish, I'm like, oh, I love this space. I think currently it's probably my master bedroom. We all seem to congregate here at the end of the night just with the little kids and snuggle and read and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably my favorite space right now. That's actually where I'm sitting because it's the quietest part in the house.
All the kids are being taken care of right now. So you
Yes.
like one
Yep.
moment for mom focus. You're like, yes.
Yeah.
Which is an exciting thing for a newborn, especially that I think we landed in nap time, so to
We
speak.
did. Yes. Yeah. Thank goodness.
Yeah,
Yep.
smart mom. You're like, I got my habits and my routines to make sure that it works. So speaking about your kids, you were talking a little bit about how you kind of did habit reinforcement with your daughter. How did you create that idea for her, the 11-year-old, if I'm correct?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Yep. I actually was reading a book on habits. I
Mm-hmm.
read several, and one of them, which I should have, it was such a fantastic book. The Power of Habit, Why We Do What We Do in Life and Business by Charles Duhigg. And
Mm-hmm.
it talked about how Febreze started out as a company that wanted to really help people with very dirty homes,
Mm-hmm.
but they couldn't gain any traction in that market. And then they somehow noticed that people with clean homes would reset their space and spray Febreze at the end
Mm-hmm.
and use it more as like a tool that it became habitual because they recognized the smell of Febreze with their clean home. And it was like this dopamine thing at the end of cleaning. I read that and I was struggling to help my daughter figure out a way that like worked for her brain to clean her room.
Mm-hmm.
She was pretty little still, and we just were trying to work on that. And I was like, maybe I should do something like that for her. And she, at that age, we had this like wooded part in the back part of our property. And
Mm-hmm.
she would write to fairies, and the
Mm-hmm.
fairies would write her back. And so I decided that one day the fairies would leave a bottle of enchanted fairy realm mist, which was water and essential oils. And I like decorated it all cute and got my Cricut out and put stickers on it. And I left her a note that said she could only use it when her room was clean and
Mm-hmm.
she could spray it and it would be magical in her room. So I really, maybe out of desperation or maybe just because, like I said, are home a lot with my health. So I kind of try to get creative with stuff, but I really used the habit reinforcement with the enchanted fairy realm mist, and that she was so excited to clean her room and keep her room clean because she could only use the spray that smelled nice and was magical when her room was clean. That was my first adventure into habit hacking, and I used my daughter as a subject.
Well, when you try to do the exploration, and also you need a counterpart when you're struggling with your own health to kind of initiate her on that journey. But I have nieces, and I have to say that they're obsessed with either fairies, mermaids, or unicorns.
Unicorn.
And yeah,
Yeah.
I was like the three that are very predominantly important,
Yeah.
so, and they have great imaginations at that age. So, you can have them have an imagination journey with their, fairy mist of, so to speak, and then figure out how to kind of gear them to clean for you. Most people don't have the time to kind of teach their kids certain things because they're so busy and overwhelmed just in their own space with work. And I think after the pandemic, most people realize that you need to do some habit structuring. But it's hard to, like, you don't want to feel forced to do something for your children, but the aftermath is like you're creating the infrastructure for them, graduating later in life to have those tools, so to speak. But
Yeah.
what were some other ones that you have learned by, creating systems in your house for your kids specifically?
Specifically for kids, one of the biggest things that we do is a 15-minute random roundup at
Okay.
the end of the day, usually after dinner, but I'm kind of considering switching around the timing. But we set a visual timer for 15 minutes. So I don't know if you've seen, there's like little clocks that are timers that you twist it and it has a color and you can tell how much time is left on the timer based on how much color is left.
Okay.
I saw a mom use it on TikTok and was like, that is so genius. So it's really great for little kids. And then the big kids can obviously read the how many minutes are left on the timer. But we set a 15-minute timer and we switch who gets to pick the music for that night.
Mm.
That's a big deal, is someone gets to pick the playlist and we blast music and everybody kind of splits up the main living area, like kitchen, dining room, living room, and just cleans like crazy for 15 minutes. And a lot of times it goes to 20 or 25 minutes, but we have found that we are going to bed with like a completely clean space.
Lovely.
And no arguments, because it's a fun, exciting thing, and especially I get to pick the playlist. So that's been a huge thing. The 15 minutes, I think, is like everybody's like, that's so doable. 15 minutes, we can clean for 15 minutes. And then once you get going, it is hard to stop. Like we're like, oh, we're almost done. Let's just finish. Let's just dry these dishes and put them away, and then we'll be completely done. And it just takes the struggle out of that task of cleaning everything, but also like at the end of the day when everybody's tired and grumpy and ready for baths and bed and whatever, it just gets everybody on board and excited.
Yeah, you're having your own Mary Poppin moment.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe we should add that to the playlist.
But I do love Mary Poppins. I was gifted
yeah.
that idea that most people call me that in a way. I was like, okay.
Oh, I love that.
But
I'm not sure there's a higher compliment.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I get the compliment, but thank you. But yes, I think it's you have to always remain a little bit magical sometimes, and especially my nieces. It's like if I can magically motivate you to do things, what you're talking about, I can, execute something important for you to have your own, foundation of approval and appreciation for, which they love.
Oh, yeah. And kids learn through play. So that's always a wonderful way to teach kids how to care for themselves and their environment too.
Oh, so speaking of play, have you used anything like that to, I mean, this sounds like a play already that you're doing for your 15 minutes, like end of day kind of reset. What about anything else that you've discovered that you thought was the best idea?
I am fairly new to toy rotation. It's not really play or magical, but with my first, she was the first grandkid and she got so many gifts, every birthday, everything, all of it, because it was exciting and fun, but we were overwhelmed by toys. For our second, we've focused more on like experiences, or just we really do not keep a lot of toys in our house anymore for my own sanity. And I think
toys have a lot of accessories with them.
Yeah, I've noticed that they play better too with less options and it's less overwhelming. But I saw moms on social media rotate toys. So I got these clear plastic bins, and like the Legos are in a clear plastic bin, and the wooden blocks are in a clear plastic bin, and the trucks are in a clear plastic bin. And we just keep them in his closet and take one out at a time for my toddler. And we play with that for a day or a couple of days and then clean it up and switch it out for something else. That has been so incredibly helpful with keeping a handle on messes and chaos, but also he plays with them for longer when there's not like 5 million different things to choose from.
The ultimate distraction. You got one thing to focus on.
Yeah, so that has been so incredibly helpful. And then for him, cleaning is usually like the broom will turn into a sword, or he'll just spread something out more. He's starting to get where he really enjoys unloading the dishwasher, but cleaning up definitely has to be gamified. And it's like, let's throw this into the bin, or let's race. So that's kind of the only way that he gets on board with cleaning right now.
Yeah, he's a pirate of his own, caliber, so to speak, or whatever archetype he wants to pick. It makes it, a mission of battle. Most little boys love those things, but it's important. You talk about systems in your book. You want to describe kind of what you mean by, you touch about habits and how they're kind of important, but when you focus on systems, what does that mean for you and how you've utilized it?
Yeah. So I noticed when I started to read books on habits and I wanted to apply them to what a lot of my days revolve around, which is running my household, I would try a new habit and could not get it to stick, which in part is, I think, my personality and brain wiring. But also, I noticed after a million tries that there was so much resistance to my habit. So, like, I would really want to get in the habit of keeping my bathroom counter clutter free. So I would think, okay, at the end of the night while I brush my teeth, I'm going to clear my counter.
Mm-hmm.
But my drawers were a mess. Like nothing was organized. And so I realized, well, maybe I should have like systems and places for things to go and ways to do things as easy as possible to eliminate that resistance. And then once I started to do that, my habits stuck so much easier. And so in the book, I give a lot of real practical examples of systems that have worked for me, and then hopefully can spark people to have ideas for systems that work for their own home and the way that they live in their home. But a lot of it is just the most practical thing. Like you lose your keys all the time, get a hook by the door and hang your
Mm-hmm.
keys on it. And all of a sudden, you're going to habitually hang your keys on the hook, and they're not going to be lost when you have to leave in a hurry because you created a system that reinforces that habit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's important to have some of those because we get distracted in your own mental standings where things are. And I always say to myself, I was like, where is the home for the item? Like it needs its own home in my home. So like it has its place where it belongs. And then it makes me remember where it kind of lives, so to speak. As a tactical item that I was like, you live in a counter, like somewhere into like my kitchen. So in that, it reinforced where it's designated to have ownership of that property, so to speak. And it
Yeah,
helped me a lot for like organizational concepts to kind of reframe where my thinking was to where the items belong. And exactly like you say, for a system in place, it will make you understand the identifying location for said item.
exactly. Yep.
Okay, you create DIY products, and I want to ask a couple questions about like what are like 3 or 4 items that you have to have because you're building these products for your home, and what are the 3 items that you should have to either build the products that you're going to build or have for cleaning?
I think a glass bottle with a spray nozzle goes a
Mm-hmm.
long ways. I use a lot of vinegar and baking soda, and a lot of my recipes in the book have vinegar. With
Mm-hmm.
my health issues, I've really moved away from like anything with fragrance or chemical cleaners. So, yeah, a glass spray bottle, have a couple of things on hand. Like I use acetone, which rubbing alcohol. I'm like trying to
Mm-hmm.
figure
Yeah,
out the term that everybody knows.
yeah,
I use
rubbing
rubbing
alcohol.
alcohol for some things, dish soap and vinegar and baking soda. You can do a lot with those. And
Mm-hmm.
then a good cleaning towel and a good mop and a
Mm-hmm.
good, I think those probably are the very, very baseline stuff that you can do a lot with and DIY your own recipes for cleaning stuff. And that's what a lot of the recipes in the book revolve around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's important, like a lost tradition in a way that vinegar and baking soda have been in my cabinet forever, but it's kind of a thing that we stepped away from for a long time, and people don't remember the absolute versatility that it has.
Yeah.
And you can mix it up in different directions and it does 90% of things that you didn't realize that it does, which is good. For the book does have a myriad of selections of recipes for different items. I want to ask you, like in the form of rags, what are your rags of choice, or where do you find them?
My absolute favorite is a company called, well, I don't think that's the company's name. I think the company's name is called Life Miracle, but they're called Nano Towels, Nano. and I found them on Amazon actually when I was looking for stainless steel cleaning options that didn't like fumigate my whole house. And they're these cleaning rags that they're not microfiber. I I guess they're a unique technology that this company uses, but you can clean windows and glass and stainless steel with just water, and it's like miraculous. It looks beautiful. So I use those for glass and like my shower door, my stovetop, stainless steel and stuff. They're amazing, or just counters. And then I just found like some knit dish rags locally that I use a lot for. I always keep them in the kitchen for countertops. And this sounds silly, but they had different colored ones. So I like red is bathroom and blue is kitchen and stuff, just so I didn't cross contaminate anything when cleaning, which nobody else in my house follows that system, but it makes me feel better, I guess.
It's
But
identifying its, use and where it would be located, and, color coordinating, because, grease doesn't really, and that's the question I'm going to ask you. Grease doesn't really cross over for, bathroom if you used it for the kitchen. So
yeah.
in that, where do you think, like, you've dealt with grease, you say grease and grime, I think, in that, what have you created to deal with grease when you see it in your kitchen or another area?
Yeah, my husband is a professional chef. He is a pit master. Now he runs a barbecue company, but we have a lot of grease. There's so much grease with barbecue stuff. So yeah, I have had to figure that out. That and laundry with smoke, wood smoke. Yeah. But vinegar helps with grease. And then what really, really helps with like kitchen grease is actually dish soap. It just cuts the grease so fast. So when my stovetop is really like greasy, really, or butter's melted on it or whatever, I get a cleaning rag, usually a nano towel wet, and then squirt some dish soap on it and rub it down, and it'll pull up all the grease. And then I just go back over it with water, and it cleans like the debris off, but it really gets the grease too.
It's important, yeah, because you mentioned your husband has a kitchen display, and then
Yeah.
the aftermath.
Yeah.
Say in my family, one who cooks does not clean, but you're left to doing the cleaning duties because your husband cooked a feast that you're having that night,
Yeah.
and the aftermath can be fun.
Which, I mean, the meals are absolutely delicious, so you can see how one leads to the other. So yeah.
Makes sense. So what is your favorite product that you've made for cleaning before?
I use most religiously, I guess, a spray bottle with 1 part vinegar, 1 part water, and then some lemon essential oil in it. And, I have a glass shower door and white grout on little tiles in the bottom of my shower. I am not sure what possessed me to pick white grout, but I spray the shower door with the vinegar mix and then the shower floor with the vinegar mix. And I let it sit on the shower door for quite a long time and let the vinegar kind of break down that soap scum. And it works really well. And I use that for like sinks and faucets and sometimes windows if windows are really dirty also. Vinegar really like collects grime really well. So I use that one very, very often. Like every single time I clean, I just keep a glass bottle that I refill. And then I keep baking soda in a Parmesan, like a big Costco Parmesan shaker bottle. And I use that to clean stainless steel pots and pans, and then my shower floor also. Baking soda works really well on grout, especially white grout.
Yeah, you decided on white. You have to make it immaculate. Your hospital quality white grout is,
I don't know what I was thinking.
it looks beautiful. You're like, I like, pristine is a thing. It will make you work for the look of it when you pick white. I mean, I laughed that I have a black car, and I was like, I would pick the only car that always looks dirty. I was like, that's my fault. Never gonna get a black car again.
Which you would think it would be the opposite, but it shows everything.
Yeah, it's, design tactic. You're like, okay, now I've learned better. And I was like, I'm always afraid of grout because like you're saying that you don't really put a lot of fragrances in your products because I have an immense amount of allergies. I would laughingly say that I was a pseudo bubble child, that my mother has bleached everything to pristine clean. And I have like all these allergies because I wasn't really acquainted with these things when I was younger. So mold is a high one, but most people that are unaware are highly allergic to mold. And that lives in grout, where you're talking about like the grout that happens, and you're like, it can create mold. And then if you don't clean it, you get like, some reaction, because a lot of the population, I would say, this is not a proven statistic, around 75% of people are allergic to mold. But that is important to understand, that those things have a after effect for your health and smells and everything like that, that you've created products that are kind of more related to what you can deal with in your health, that have a positive reinforcement rather than a negative, like allergic reaction. Some people can, but it's very rare for vinegar and baking soda to have those kind of effects. But some of the products that are out there have so many carcinogens in it, it's very difficult to deal with for some. And babies too, like you don't want to have an accident that they lick or touch anything that is a product that you have just cleaned, that they can't really ingest of any kind. So you have made it a very excellent source of very natural options. So in your cleaning arsenal, you have a couple things that you go on your routine with. You want to talk about the caddy?
Sure. Yeah, I keep a cleaning caddy, which really is just like a little plastic bin. A lot of them have handles on them. You can just search cleaning caddy and there's so many different options. But I like to keep that in my hall closet, and I keep it stocked with my Parmesan shaker of baking soda and that vinegar spray. And then I usually have like a handheld scrubber thing that can get into tight spaces or corners, and a nano towel. And then I keep garbage bags, the roll of small garbage bags for the bathroom garbages in it also. And then I just tote it around to clean. I also keep a disinfectant spray or wipes in it, so that for toilets and all that fun stuff, completely disinfect. But yeah, I found that that was a system that really helped eliminate the resistance of like going to clean a bathroom and then running back and forth to the cleaning supplies, or forgetting something and being like, okay, I'll just finish that part later. The trash bags were a big one for me, because I would clean the whole bathroom and like throw all the paper towels in the trash as I was cleaning, and then think, okay, I'll come back and do that later, and then just forget about it. And the trash can was full because I had just put a bunch of paper towels in it. And so it's just stuff like that that you have to kind of be aware of and notice, like, why did I really like not do that? It was usually a minor inconvenience that could be easily remedied. So yeah, the cleaning caddy helped a lot with that. And you can just take it from room to room, or you can keep it like above my toilet in my master bathroom. I have it with all of that in it in the cabinet up above. So it's all right there, and there's no excuse to not just whip it out and clean real quick.
Yeah, I mean, they're important. Most house cleaners have one of those, and most people don't, because it's good if you're trying to like do multiple rooms and not going back. I am neurodivergent, so just like you, thought I finished it and forgot about it, and then hours later I was like, oh, and then I came back in the room. Oh yeah, I was supposed to get a trash can bag. Oops. And then I had to go back down and do it before I forgot about it, because I got distracted doing another room or doing another place.
Yeah. Or anything else. Yeah, that I also am neurodivergent. So a lot of my tips and hacks revolve around that aspect of my brain wiring. So I think it's good for the normies, and then good for people like us too.
I mean, having habits in place and understanding what you're dealing with in your own self is like, okay, I solved this problem. This is my solution for you. And that's why your blogs make sense. Okay, I am with you on this journey. So what I've learned to hack it is like a good idea, because I am the same as you. Oh, I started something, and then like you have kids too. You're like, you got distracted by what they're doing and you missed the project and you didn't go back to it. And you're like, okay, I'm over dealing with what's going on here. And then I forgot about the thing that we're doing before before that. I'm like, it's like most people that are old, they'll do that. I was like, oh, well, I've been doing that since I was 20 something. So welcome to the team. So I always ask the two final questions about what is the best advice you've ever received?
I think love other people well, and that's kind of all you need to worry about. And I think our homemaking we can forget why we are doing all of it because it's so redundant and it's so much work and it's hard to, especially when we work outside of the home, it's hard to come home and have to take care of our house along with everything else too. But the basis of keeping your home in order is it's really a loving act for yourself. And if you live with others, for them as well. And it's a sacrificial, service-based love that we can lose sight of every day. But it's good for that reminder every once in a while. Like, okay, I am cleaning up the mess under the high chair for the 50th time today, but I am loving my family well and I am serving them well. And that really is what it's all about.
Love is the most powerful energy out there. And so a constant reminder of that is, the extra push that you need to remind yourself that it's not the worst thing if you love someone so deeply that it doesn't matter that much. You're mothering them and taking care of them because this is, the structure that is for you to, show up for them. And it's a good idea to understand. So my final question is always, what is the best thing you've learned from the hardest takeaway of the element that you went into kind of exploring that you've never been into before? And what did you learn from it that you can use in the future?
I think you touched on it earlier when we were talking about health issues, but I think through a lot of my health issues, which were frankly at times very, very scary, like wasn't sure what life would be like afterwards, or very scary things. And I think that realizing what truly matters happens so easily when something scary happens or we lose someone or we lose our health. So through fighting for normalcy again with kind of the worst of my health struggles, I just had this realization that like my priorities could reflect the way that I wanted to live, and so many things didn't matter, especially like at the top of the list what other people thought of me. And just silly ways that I would use my time, or ways that I would think I would need to present myself or look a certain way or act a certain way. None of that really mattered, and it was really freeing, but also a difficult like daily choice to just focus on the things that matter most.
Yeah. Tiny things are the most important things when you see the value of them.
Yeah.
And it's hard to love yourself sometimes when you're built to be a giver.
That's absolutely true. Yes.
Well, thank you very much, Karissa. And her new book is outstanding, The Home Reset. It is a great tool to implement ideas and philosophies of habits and structures and home for your kids and your family. I highly recommend taking a peek and picking it up. You can find all the notes in the bio for where she is located on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, along with her website where you can find this book too. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in to the Tranquility Magazine podcast. Please subscribe and add your questions to our Q&A. We want to give a thank you to our team for their effort in creating every episode and our content at tranquilitymagazine.com.